steel, cement, aluminium, fertilizers. Starting this year, importing them into Europe quietly becomes more expensive, not because of tariffs, not because of trade wars, but because of carbon. And most people still don't realize who will actually pay for it. In this video, we will explain what CBAM really is, why the European Union introduced it, and, most importantly, how it redistributes costs across companies, countries, and balance sheets. Because CBAM is not just a climate policy. It's a capital reallocation mechanism. Europe already prices carbon internally through the EU emissions trading system. If you emit CO2, you need allowances. Those allowances have a price, and that price keeps rising. But this system only applied inside Europe, which created a structural problem. A steel plant in Europe paid for carbon, a steel plant outside Europe didn't. That made European producers less competitive and created the risk that production would simply move abroad. This is called carbon leakage. Emissions stay the same, but move across borders. CBAM, the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, fixes this by applying the same carbon price to imports. If a product would have paid for emissions in Europe, it now pays that cost at the border. Simple idea, big consequences. Let's take a simple example. Imagine the European carbon price is 70 euros per ton of CO2. Producing 1 ton of cement emits about 100 kilos of CO2. That's a 7 euro carbon cost. A European producer pays it. A producer in a country with no carbon price doesn't, at least not until CBAM applies. CBAM charges that difference at the border. If emissions were already priced abroad, CBAM only charges the gap. If they weren't priced at all, CBAM charges the full amount. Same carbon cost, different players absorbing it. CBAM doesn't hit everyone equally. Foreign producers see margins compressed unless they decarbonize or raise prices. European importers become compliance managers and cash flow buffers. European producers gain protection, but still face rising internal carbon prices. And consumers are affected indirectly through higher prices embedded in supply chains. CBAM doesn't eliminate costs. It decides where they land. Here's the key thing to understand. CBAM certificates are priced off the European carbon market. That means future CBAM costs depend on the future EU carbon price. So non-EU producers are already paying attention. They are starting to hedge that future exposure by buying European carbon allowances as a proxy. This is called proxy hedging. In practice, it means foreign producers start participating, indirectly, in Europe's carbon market. CBAM doesn't just regulate trade. It pulls global capital into European carbon pricing. CBAM often looks painless. Consumers don't see a visible carbon tax. Governments collect revenue. Climate goals stay intact. But costs don't disappear. They resurface later. In supplier margins, in employment pressure, in industrial relocation decisions, in geopolitical tensions. That's why many exporting countries are now creating their own carbon markets to keep that revenue at home. CBAM is not just about emissions. It's about who absorbs the cost of decarbonization first. It protects some balance sheets, exposes others, and accelerates a global repricing of carbon.